Everything's going pretty good,
Just
man.
watch TV.
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. We just got done doing the pay-per-view for RCW last night.
Yep.
It was pretty insane. It's over on the YouTube channel for those that want to watch it. It was pretty insane. I've always said it never, ever, ever goes as planned. Never does. Like, never does. And I think that's what's really, really fun about it, is that it never goes as planned. It, like, never ends up going the way it should.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I just... And that's what I like about it, because, like, me as the creative person, it forces me to think on my feet. You know, it forces me to think, like, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do this, or oh, I have to do this differently now. So it's one of those things.
Right. Well, you know something? We just started talking, and I don't think we introduced ourselves.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't even think we introduced ourselves. Let's start. My name is, for all you on Glimish, my name is Sackitey.
yep. I'm Bots TV.
There's Bots TV right over there to my right, your left, or your left, my right. You look like you're on the right side, so
Yeah. It flips them backwards. It flips them.
yeah,
Yeah.
it does flick them. So we're here, and we're gonna get into this is a Bot TV's charity stream.
Yep.
Bot is doing a charity stream for the teenage domestic violence.
Yep.
We're gonna be talking a little bit about that. Also, he's also running his eFed,
Yeah.
which is the RCW,
Yeah.
and he has a character on the RCW, which we all know very well. We all
Yeah.
know very well from her appearances in the EWL and other federations or other eFeds like RCW, BCW.
Yep.
My audio's not. Oh my goodness. My audio's not coming through. Oh shit. Thank you, Doom Striker. Wow, Striker.
There we go. We hear everybody. Okay.
There we go. Oh shit! I just said but I don't even know if I could repeat what I just said, but I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Fuck. All right. So what I was saying was, this is my name is Sackitey. That's how you pronounce my name, Sackitey. And I'm here talking with one of my mods and friends, Bots TV.
Right here, baby.
Bots TV. We're here. First of all, we're gonna talk about domestic violence, teenage domestic violence. As you know, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're gonna be talking to Bots TV. He's gonna be talking about, his experiences with domestic violence in a relationship, and also he runs an eFed called the RCW.
Yeah.
Mostly streams on Glimish.
Yeah.
We'll put his link up. Actually, I'll do that right now. Put your link up in chat for you.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I tried to stream on Twitch, but I get like so many drop frames. It's crazy, and I don't know why, because my internet's fine, and I don't get any of that on Glimish. I have no idea why. It's weird.
That is weird, because it after like a while it would happen to me.
Right.
It would happen to me. It'll drop, it'll go down, but then it'll come back up.
Right. It won't stay consistent. So
right.
It's...
which is weird.
Yeah, it is.
But so we're gonna be talking about that. Also, he runs a RCW eFed on WWE 2K19, and one of his characters, we're gonna be talking about Sky Outlaw. Sky Outlaw, which we know very well in the RCW and the EWL.
Yeah, she had a match last night.
She had a match?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened in that match? Or we have to go see the VOD to check it out.
Well, she lost.
She lost.
Yeah. Everybody thought that the Outlaws were gonna win because it was their hometown of Manhattan.
Right.
So everybody thought that the Outlaws were gonna win. She was supposed to win that match.
Okay.
But you know how the game is. And the game just kind of messed that up, and that's kind of how it did. But I figured something out that might happen in season 11 that makes it all just better.
Yeah.
And you know, I was actually planning that. I've been planning the pay-per-view for like 1 to 2 months. So I had like segments already in place for what I wanted to do. And obviously in that segment, Brian Outlaw turns on Sky Outlaw.
Oh, okay.
So he turns
wow.
on his
Brian Outlaw,
the
famous outlaw brother?
Yeah, he
he
turned on her because his girlfriend Eliza, you know, had attacked her. So, you know, that. So, yeah. And the promo that led up to it, all my promos are unscripted. Every single one of them are. And
that's the way to go.
And so I wanted to make it like a heartfelt promo. Like, she originally was supposed to win. So in that promo, I said, you won back what you lost. But then I kind of changed it to be like, maybe it's not a literal thing. Maybe it's like a metaphorical thing. Maybe you won your freedom. You won whatever. You won this or you won this. And then I wanted it to be kind of sappy. So I started talking about like how they used to wrestle each other when they were kids and everything. And I think I said something like, sometimes God does things that we don't understand, that type of thing. Like I said, remember when our mom used to say to us, sometimes God does things that we don't understand. We cannot fathom why. We just have to deal with it. And he says at the end, I hope one day you can forgive me. And that's
interesting.
And that's when Eliza attacks her.
Oh boy.
So Eliza was there. Eliza was at ringside trying to help her win the title back. Because
Doomstriker, thank you for that follow.
That storyline actually goes all the way back to Daybreak when they faced each other for the Dream Championship. You know that a lot is gonna happen in season 11.
So we gotta check out. Gotta check out that. Check out that season on Glimish Bot TV's stream. Doomstriker says a new series called Made about domestic violence dropped on Netflix. Ooh, that should be interesting.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah, I'll have to watch it. You know, as a male victim that went through that when I was 16 years old, so going on maybe 5 to 6 years.
That's young. That's young to be going through.
Yeah.
To be going through like some type of domestic violence. I mean,
granted, it wasn't. It wasn't domestic because we didn't live together.
But it was in like a relationship type thing.
But we might as well have lived together because she was around me 24/7.
Wow.
She wouldn't let me breathe. She wouldn't let me do anything. I went from playing Xbox, like I don't play I play a lot, but I don't play like that hardcore as much as I used to.
Right.
You know, and I used to play like 10 hours, like 8 hours. Like I used to just go nuts, go absolutely nuts. And then there came to a point where I wasn't allowed to do that anymore. I wasn't allowed to do anything that didn't involve her. So, you know,
really? And let me guess, she didn't like video games.
It's not that she didn't like it.
She didn't like gaming.
It's not that she didn't like it. She didn't like me doing other things that didn't involve her. It was more or less of a controlling type thing where she's like, "You're mine. You only answer to me. You only do things with me." And she had her own insecurities. Like, it was a lot of her own insecurities that caused her to do all that stuff. You know, it was kind of one of those things where and it was my first girlfriend, so it was my like first real relationship too. And it's not that I couldn't get a girl if I wanted to. You know, I grew up in a school where if you weren't a jock or if you weren't, you know, a sports guy, girls didn't pay attention to you at all.
Right.
You know, and as a 16-year-old kid growing up without, you know, a father, because I mean, I had my grandfather, but, you know, I didn't have my father's family. I didn't have, you know, any of that because they're kind of selfish people. They're just not good people.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, they're just not good people, so.
Doomsday says he's sorry to hear that.
Yeah, you know, you know, it was really difficult for me.
That does.
And especially for someone who's never been in a relationship before, and that's their first. Like, that's their first thing, you know.
Right.
That's like their first real relationship, and so how she got me to believe everything was she manipulated me into thinking things.
Really? What type of things? What do you mean by that?
So she would
if you don't mind getting into it with everybody, you know.
Of course. I'm an open book about it now. It's out there. It's not but for me it was one of those things where she would basically get me to believe the dumbest of things. Like, she would lie about what car she had or her life or something that was going on in her life.
Now, was she the same age as you? Was she a little bit older?
She was 1 year older. That was it.
Oh, so you're 16, she's 17.
Yeah.
You guys in the same grade? You have same classes?
Well, no. Actually, I met her at lunch. And I was going through a time where I had like the lowest self-esteem of the lowest, and when you do,
that's hard for a young teenager, man.
You have no respect for yourself. So when you have a low self-esteem, you're willing to lower your dating standards. You're willing to lower anything. And so I was thinking in my head, well, no girl's ever gonna date me again, so I might as well go out with this one. And I paid for it. You know, and you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not. You know, I've only told 5 people, so this is like my first ever time ever sharing this publicly in this type of space.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things where, like, it's one of those things that sticks with you for the rest of your life.
Right.
I've never been in a relationship since then. I've been single for 7 to 8 years now. By choice. And some of that has to do with what I went through at 16. I went through that, and then I was interested in this one girl in high school in senior year, and she kind of basically did the same thing my ex did to me. Manipulated me for a good 2 years, and then it was all over. So it was kind of the same thing that my ex did to me, so I guess it happened to me kind of twice, but we were never, with the second girl, we were never an item at all. We were just, but we might as well.
How did that make you feel though? I mean, you said yourself, you haven't been with anybody or even tried for the past, what you said, 7-8 years?
7-8 years, yeah.
Yeah, at a young age, that has some type of effect, but
yeah,
not every, the way I've said, like, not every person is like this. You know what I mean?
No.
It's just because of what you went through, it's hard for you.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's hard for you to trust, to put trust with your feelings and your emotions as a man in another
especially
female
as a
because what
man.
you went through. Yes.
Especially as a man, because the thing is, with male victims, they're less likely to report something, and they're more likely to be in an emotionally abusive relationship.
Right.
And with males, there's this sense of like pride that we have as males. And the women have the same thing too. Women have a similar thing too of, you know, you go girl, women empowerment, that type of thing. But with males, it's more or less we're prideful on being strong and being you know, manly, like, you know, that type of thing. And you know, when you're going through this at such a young age where you're naive and you're dumb, basically. You're young and dumb to put it to basically put it in that type of way. Yeah. You know, and so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I had to go through it, you know, and it's unfortunate. Nobody should ever go through something like that. Nobody at all. Right. It's one of the things, I don't even wish it upon my worst enemy. But a lot of this, you know, I feel like if it didn't happen to me, then I wouldn't have become the person that I am today.
Right.
And I feel like the hardships that we go through, there's a reason why we go through them. There's a reason. You know, I'm a very religious man, so, you know, there's a reason why God put me through it. So, you know, that's, and I am the person I am today because of it. So I'm not ashamed of it. I'm really not. You know, me, one thing that got me through all that was professional wrestling, because 2015, 2016 was the year that I got deeply involved into wrestling. Now I knew the Summer of Punk, and all that, from his days in WWE, but wrestling was the one thing I could escape to, because it was the one thing that, like, it's like with any TV show, you can escape into the world. You don't have to worry about your reality or anything like that. It was just one of those things where it was like, great, we don't have to do it anymore. Like, we don't have to. I don't.
So that was gonna be my next question with what you went through and everything. Now, it sounds like it was more verbal.
Oh yeah.
It was verbal. It wasn't any physical or anything like that, was
no,
it?
she never hit me, never did anything like that. Which honestly, both of it is bad. Both of it's bad. But I've heard so many people that have gone through the same exact thing that have said they'd rather be hit than verbally ridiculed, because the difference is, if you're hit, scars can heal and they can kill you. And as morbid as that sounds, some people would rather not be here than be going through that. Every single day of their lives. And it's something that you have to experience yourself to really understand, you know, where they're coming from in that sort of sense. So, like, verbally, because verbally it sticks with you. It constantly replays in your mind, and if you have anxiety and depression like I do, it doesn't help either. So, and actually, there's a couple videos that are on my Discord. That there's a couple videos that I shared in my general chat, and it's just a bunch of videos on, like, signs of emotional abuse, the effects of emotional abuse on a person. And they're very, very helpful, very, very educational. They're only like 2 to 3 minutes long. And actually, a person who's gone through emotional abuse is more likely to have, you know, PTSD. They're more likely to have, you know, some mental health disorder more than anyone else. And it's one of those things where I think my anxiety really increased around 16 to 17 years old. And my depression increased right around that. Because when you're constantly around somebody that ridicules everything that you do, that says that
to believe it.
that says everything everything that you're doing is wrong, everything that you're doing is stupid, everything that you're doing is pointless. Yeah,
Right.
like that's difficult. And so, a few years after that,
So
we're
yeah, my
talking.
next question was gonna be what you touched a little bit of. You touched on it a little bit. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, so with all that, and after it, passed, it still leaves a residual.
Yeah.
How did you get through that? How did you get through that verbal, like after everything happened?
Me,
And you
like,
explained some of it with wrestling. What else did you do to get through that?
it was for music. A lot of times it was music. Whenever
Yeah.
I'm feeling upset or whenever I'm feeling something, I just feel like music can speak to you in ways that other things can't.
Right.
And it was a year after when I had met Lynn from Paris, my
Oh,
favorite
okay.
band,
Yep.
and it was October 14th, 2017, and I remember the exact day because that was the happiest day
October
of my life.
14th. My
Yeah,
birthday's in October.
yeah.
No, but go on.
And I was in my wheelchair that day because this venue was open. It was like an
Yeah.
open, and I loved it because it was open. It was very handicap friendly, and I didn't know I was gonna meet them that day. I had no clue. I walked right in, and the guy gave you a little piece of paper, and I'm like, "What's
Yep.
this for?" And he goes, "Some of the bands come down and they meet you." And I'm like, "Are you serious right now? Like, you're not pulling my chain, are you?"
Yeah.
And so we're figuring out when Paris is gonna come. And my buddy Sam from college, like, I swear, he
All right.
is
What's up, Socks?
What's up, Sox fan? Thank you. He is one of the greatest friends I've ever had because he wasn't even a Paris fan, but he went because one of his favorite bands was going to perform, but he stayed in line for me because he knew how much it meant to me to meet them. He saved
Okay.
my spot when I went to go to the bathroom, and he saved my spot. And so we're sitting there, and I'm used to being judged because I'm handicapped and I walk with a limp, and you basically look at me and you know that something's up.
Right.
And so I'm used to being judged. I was used to it. And after going through an abusive relationship and being through that for a year,
Yep.
and after going through that, like I always, whenever I met a woman, I always took it with a grain of salt. I always said, don't get involved. Don't do it. Like, don't. And so I basically had to like force my brain.
Sometimes you can't resist.
Yeah, sometimes you can't, and that's
Like,
what's
damn.
that's what sucks about being a man is like it's like sometimes you just can't. And like, and I think it was after Chester Bennington from Linkin Park had passed away. Was when I really got into Paris, and then when I met him in October, I didn't know what to say to Lynn because I was like, how do you tell somebody that they saved your life? How do you do that without actually saying that? Like, to me, saying it is not even enough. Like,
Yeah.
saying thank you is not even enough for me.
Basically, your music, like if you would like to say, your music got me through a lot of hard times.
Right.
Thank you for what you did.
Right.
What you basically, that's probably how
Yeah.
you would say it.
And I was in my wheelchair that day, and for the first time, I was so used to people saying, why do you walk like that? Or why do you, what's wrong with you? Which is the wrong thing to say. Don't ever say that to anybody with a disability. Don't ever say the words, what's wrong with you? Don't ever say that.
Right.
Because then that implies that something is wrong with them. You basically you put in their mind that something is wrong with them, and there isn't. My mental health was just not in a good place at that time.
Right.
Because of stuff going on, and because of the abusive relationship and stuff. And I could tell that Lynn, the lead singer, was going through something that day. So I could tell.
Okay.
I read people so well, and I could tell. So I wanted to make her laugh, and I bet $5 from my friend that I could.
Oh, word.
And she's openly lesbian. She's been openly gay. She's been out of the closet for a while. And the thing that I love about her is that, like, she doesn't force it upon people. Like,
Right.
and, like, she acts normal. Like, she doesn't think that she's special because she's gay. Like, she treats it like it's a normal thing. And what she does is, you know, she tells people, I'm gay and that's okay. And whatever you believe in, whatever the hell you believe in, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, we can all be friends. We can all be friends and we can all love each other, you know? And that's what I love about her, is that, like, she's just one of those people.
So she's one of the ways that how you got through your domestic or mental abuse for the relationship. Like, in what ways did her music help you? Or when you went to go, you said you talked to her?
Yeah.
So how did that go?
First time, I'm 17 years old. And some people that know me, you know, and know my relationship with Paige, the wrestler, they might know that I tend to be a little good with my words, that type of thing. But I wasn't always that way.
Right.
And when I met Lynn, I was mute. I couldn't talk. Because it felt so surreal that I was actually meeting her, but I was thinking in my head, don't mess this up. Don't. I kept on thinking in my head, like, just don't mess it up, because you have one chance to make a good first impression, and that's it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why is she so sad? Like, she's upset. She's smiling, but it's one of those, like, fake smiles. Like, oh, I'm good. How are you? Like, you know, you're not. There's something going on here.
Right.
And so I told my buddy Sam, I said, hey, keep Alex and Brian, the guitarist and the bassist, occupied. I said, I'm going to talk with Lynn for a minute. And, you know, I took out... She signed my paper, and I took out a piece of paper, and I wrote down my Twitter handle at the time. And I said, hey, Lynn, this is for you. And she's like, what's this? And I said, hey, I want to let you know you don't got to follow me. You don't got to do anything with this piece of paper. Yep. But if you ever need anything, there it is. Like, any time of day.
That was smooth.
Any time of day, anytime of night, you tell me. I'm up. I'll talk with you all day. Like, it don't matter to me. You know, and then she was speechless. She couldn't talk either. You know, and
that was smooth.
And, you know, she's like, I could hug you right now. And I'm like, and she's like, I could hug you right now, but they won't let me. I'm like, you really think they're gonna say no to a handicapped guy like me? Come on. Like, you know, like, you know, you really think they're gonna say no? You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not a hugger. I don't hug anybody. But, you know, she's like, you better come back and see me a year later, February 21st, 2018. Go back and see her. And I actually met her in April of this year. We've met like 4 times, and she calls me her pal. Like, we're pals and we're friends.
That's pretty cool.
You know, she's super dope, and she's honestly, like, one of the only women that I've met, like, beyond first time that I've ever actually trusted.
Right.
You know,
that's dope.
And it's amazing. Like, she asked me the one time, I think it was December when we met each other, December 1st, 2020, and when we met each other, she's like, any special woman in your life? She just asked randomly. And I said, yeah. And she's like, who is that? And I said, well, I'm looking at her right now. What do you mean? Like, you know, we're, and, you know, we just ended up being good friends, all because, you know, we're there for each other, you know. Then that's the important thing. It doesn't matter if you know somebody or if you don't. Like, you know, being there for somebody when they need it, like, Lynn was that for me, so I was just returning the favor. You know, and
Right. And
that's the same thing with Paige too. That's the same thing with Paige. She was there
there you
for
go.
me, entertaining me for 7 years. So
Wow.
I have to be I have to be there for her too. You know, that's
Hey, what's up, Mr. Wrestling? Um, so yeah, and you also mentioned there was another you found besides the lead singer to what was the band? I'm sorry,
Paris.
Paris.
Yeah.
Paris. So you met her. You guys still talk to this day.
Yep.
She's an outlet for you. You are there for her too. That's important too.
Yeah.
Have somebody that you can tell your problems to, or vent to, and maybe get some advice.
Right. And
So
plus she's a woman, so it's a different
yes,
perspective too. So
right, different perspective. So you mentioned that you also mentioned that you found wrestling.
yeah.
Tell me about that. When did you find wrestling?
Um
And when did you start watching wrestling, and when did it start becoming a another outlet to forget about the abuse?
when I was probably 2008, maybe 9, like I started watching it a little bit.
Right.
And then as time went on, I would say 2015 or 2013-ish is when I got so deeply involved in it, cuz I love seeing
2013.
I love CM Punk, and I watched his stuff in ROH. And I loved him. Absolutely loved him. And the reason why I loved him is because, like, it's not just the character, it's him himself. He keeps it 100. He's not afraid to say what he wants to say.
Right.
And, regardless of what people think about him, like, he's straight edge, no drugs, no alcohol, and he's just a real cool guy, and
Yeah.
I respect a guy like that. I really do. But I think it was maybe 2012, 2013, when I started watching NXT.
Right.
And this was back when it was a talent show where it was pro and rookie.
Yeah.
And it was Daniel Bryan and The Miz. Daniel Bryan was the rookie, and The Miz was the pro. And I saw the NXT Women's Championship tournament, and it was the likes of Emma, Tennille Dashwood of Impact, and
I remember.
And, I can't remember, Natalia. She was in that tournament. And
Wasn't like Sasha Banks and Bailey in that too?
I think so. Yeah. And there was this mysterious lady, the mysterious raven-haired lady. And that's what they called Paige back in the day. They called her the mysterious raven-haired lady because nobody knew her name.
Really?
Her and Seth Rollins had like this chemistry when he was in NXT. She would come out during his matches. And I always thought that if they were ever to do like a couple storyline, that they would be good together, either her and Dean or her and Seth. And I was just like, wow, this girl's different. Like,
Yeah.
She's pale as a ghost like me. And well, because back then
she's pale as a ghost.
well, because back then women had tans, and women had
Like,
voluptuous looks and stuff, and they weren't looked at as wrestlers. Then AJ Lee and Paige came along and kind of changed that whole thing. But it was when Paige won the NXT Women's Championship. I think it was July 23rd, 2013. I think that's what it was. And Paige is still impressed that I know the dates too. But when I saw her debut against AJ Lee, April 7th, 2014, the night after WrestleMania 30,
you were just like, oh my God.
I was like, this chick is dope. I was like, I like this chick a lot.
Yeah.
And I liked her because, you know, and I've told Paige this constantly on her streams. I said, I like you because you don't give a shit. Like
Right.
you don't let other people tell you what you can and can't do. You don't care what you say. You don't care. You're honest. You're upfront. That's why I like you. A lot of celebrities, they're not like that. They'll
Yeah.
agree with whatever. They'll agree with whatever makes them look good, or whatever, you know, gets them the views, or whatever gets them the clickbait or whatever,
Yep.
and that'll be it. And so, you know, for me, you know, Paige was kind of like a, you know, saving grace for me. So that's why,
Yeah.
you know, I've gifted 25 subs to her Twitch channel. That's why.
God, 25 subs.
Well, like in total, yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, you know, when she started streaming, I was teaching her how to play Zelda. I was teaching her how to do this. I was teaching her how to do this. And I said, if you ever need anything designed, I'll design something for you. And, you know, I keep telling her, I said, I owe you. Like,
Yeah.
I owe you. Like, you know, and she's like, oh, you don't need to do that. You don't need to break the bank. You don't need to, you know, you don't need to do all this. And I said, yeah, I do. I said, I do need to do all of it because you broke your neck so that I could, you know, have some entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I got screws in my neck. And I said, yeah, you know where I got screws? Everywhere. Like, you know, and so her and I were talking about, you know, because I've had 12 surgeries. I've had a dozen surgeries. And I was told I was never going to walk or talk again. I was never going to do this. I was never going to do this. I was never going to do this. But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And
that's,
you know, so
that's a blessing.
You, doctors. Yeah.
That's a blessing.
You know,
at least we know you're very strong. You're a fighter. You're not going to let anybody say that you can't do something when you can.
Yeah.
So Paige was another saving grace. That's how when you started getting into wrestling.
Yeah.
So tell us about, so you got into wrestling. When did you start getting into wrestling games?
Shit, that was even before I got into wrestling on TV. I had SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, and I had SmackDown Shut Your Mouth on the PlayStation 2.
Right.
And I did play like WWF No Mercy and what was it, WrestleMania 2000. And
I have that for Nintendo 64. Right?
And I always knew what wrestling was. I always knew, you know, Brock Lesnar, Stone Cold. I wasn't completely cultural literate to professional wrestling.
Okay.
And I loved it just because it was fun. Not because it was wrestling, just because it was mindless fun, and that's what it was. And that's
it is fun.
And that's what I miss about the old style wrestling games.
Yes,
it's just mindless, stupid fun. Like and that's what it was. I would play special guest referee with my buddies, and I would purposely count slow.
I love special guests.
I would purposely count slow just to piss my friends off. I'd be like, 1, 2. Like, I would just purposely count slow over and over.
Right.
And I never actually thought about, you know, making like an eFed and stuff like that. Like, I played the SmackDown versus Raw games. So that's probably one of my favorite, like, modern, semi-modern game series. But what really inspired the idea of RCW and Sky Outlaw and all these characters.
That was gonna be my next question, and we're gonna go right into that. When did you start? When did you decide that what made you want to decide that you wanted to create an eFed like so many of us do on Twitch? When did you decide that, you know, this seems like fun, I want to create my own organization on the creation on WWE 2K19.
Yeah.
I want to start creating my own characters. I want to start, you know, putting in matches. I want to start doing my own storylines, and I want to stream it. When did you decide to decide doing that, and the creation of Miss Sky Outlaw
Well,
and the Outlaw family.
Yep, the Outlaw family. Yep. The
infamous Outlaw family.
How I started it.
Doom's. Oh wait, Doom said something about the maid. The protagonist is a woman who's being emotionally abused, but not physical abuse, and people are consistently gaslighting her and saying it's not real abuse. Okay. It's real. It really got me thinking about how outdated and insensitive many people's views are these days. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it really opens your eyes on stuff. Just because something.
Yep.
People are so quick to believe physical because they can see it. You know,
right.
You bruises or whatever else. But, you know, words hurt, man. Like I hate it, that's what it boils down to. Like, just because you're not getting beaten, or you're not, you know, there isn't any physical evidence of something, doesn't mean that something isn't going on. Which is why it's important that we learn the signs of psychological abuse, and, you know, try and help people. You know, that's why it's important. That's why I'm doing this. That's why we're doing this charity, and that's why we're doing everything that we're trying to do here to, you know, raise money and all that. But yeah, so RCW kind of started as I was in college, 2018, August 21st, 2018. I was getting ready to go back to college for music recording technology, and that was when I was like a music producer, and I still make music. I made Luna Outlaws 2 themes that I've used recently, Repent and Rebirth. Those are 2 themes that I've made. And so how I wanted to start was, I started out with a character like, what if I was a wrestler?
Yeah.
You know, what would my name be? What would my style of wrestling be? If I could actually do it, how would I do it? And so I was thinking in my head, I love CM Punk and I love Stone Cold, and I love those 2 characters. I think because they're both badasses. You knew it, and when they came out, they were gonna say something badass, and then somebody was getting stunned, or somebody was getting, you know, a pipe bomb or something, and that's exactly what it was. And you know, I was just so angry. I was so angry at the world, and still am, with how the world's turned into. Like, you know, how people easily get offended by absolutely everything, and how, like, we can't, you know, be friends with one another anymore because, oh, you have different views than I do on this, or you have different views that I do than me on this, or whatever we can choose to divide ourselves. And I always thought it was dumb. I always thought it was the stupidest thing, because to ruin friendships over that, you know, that's kind of stupid. So, you know, that's kind of what factored into the Outlaw character. And there's so many people that are telling you in life that you have to be this way. You have to be this way. You have to be like us. You can't be different. You can't be different. You can't have, you know, a different skin color. You can't have a different religion. You can't have this. You can't have this. You can't have this. You know, there's history of it. You know, go back to the 60s. You know, and you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, so the whole idea of being an outlaw, the whole idea of being an outlaw is you don't obey laws, and society has put these norms or laws on us to have us be stripped of our individuality, be stripped of what makes us us. And so, you know, that's kind of where I got into the whole creation of Brian Outlaw, and then I created him. And then
which outlaw do you identify most with? So you said you created him after you kind of used, you know, what you went through and everything to create the outlaws. Which one do you identify the most with?
Oh, that's a
so how many? First of all, go through the Outlaw family. I don't think anybody knows who the Outlaw family is. They're Boss TV's creation in his wrestling e-fed on WWE 2K19 called the RCW.
Yep.
And how many main characters? The Outlaw family are the main characters.
There's 5.
So there's 5 outlaws.
Yep. There's Brian. There's Jack.
Oh, that's dope.
There's Brian. There's Jack. There's Brian right there.
Okay. If you're on Glimish, you could see.
If you're on Glimish, you could see him. I don't think I have a picture of Jack, but I know I do of Luna. I just did it. Let me see.
If you go up, yeah.
There we go.
If you click on this Glimish link, hold on, let me put it up here.
Whoops. Clicked on the wrong thing.
Copy. If you click on Glimish.
Yeah, but I got
there's a link to Glimish, and here's a link to the charity.
There's 3 of them, but just right
Botch
there.
TV's charity. It's on Tiltify.
But there's 3 of them. There's Brian. There's Skylar, or there's Jack. There's Jason, and there's Luna.
Okay.
And how I came up with the names for them is if I ever had children.
Okay.
That's what I would want to name my kids.
That's interesting.
And there's certain names. If you ever look up, like, what your name means, like the Celtic meaning or the origin, of it. Luna obviously means moon. And I just think it's such a pretty name. So, to answer your question, which outlaw I relate most to, that's a really difficult one. I would have to say, if I had to choose like just one, it would kind of be impossible. But honestly, if I have to choose 2 of them, it wouldn't be Brian. It would be Sky and Luna, I think.
Sky and Luna.
Because
what about Jason and Jack?
Jack, not really. Jack was kind of just a story that I thought was dope, and I thought would be cool. Him being an army soldier, and then him being presumed dead, and then him just coming out of nowhere, like saying I'm back. That type of thing, like that. Because I've always loved those videos where you see those kids and you see somebody's like, turn around, and it's their dad in like an army uniform, and the kid starts crying or something. I've always loved those videos. So I wanted to create that like sort of effect, and so I did that. But like the thing with Sky is, Sky was actually based heavily on the girls that I went to school with.
Okay.
Because Sky on the surface, she's a bitch. Let's face it. Sky on the surface is a narcissistic, full of herself human being. Somebody that
you said this is based on.
Yeah, based on girls.
Females that you went to school with. That's how. That's how those
bad
are the vibes
they were.
And the energies that they were giving off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because most of those girls that were the guys were awful too. But most of those girls, and this is why I feel for women, man. The reason being is because as a man, I'll never be able to understand what it's like to have to live up to somebody's standards of beauty. What it's like to have to live up to those unrealistic standards of you have to be like 120 pounds to be beautiful.
Something that I was watching, social media doesn't help with that at all.
No,
especially Instagram. They see all these pictures of models and they feel that they need to live up to this standard, or even men.
Right. Men with six packs or
Yeah, you have to live up to this, and it just makes you even more depressed, and you start flicking through. I was just watching a show or a news special on that, 60 Minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I remember watching something like that. Yeah.
This was just like the other day. This was just recently.
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday.
Oh, really?
There was a show before the game, before the Patriots game came on.
Yeah.
There was 60 Minutes show. It was saying something about that, and I was listening to it while I was getting ready to watch the game.
Right. You know, and with Sky, the mirror that she has in her hand, I like to use metaphorical stuff because I'm a very big Shakespeare guy.
Right.
I love, you know, storytelling, and I love creating those, you know, those ambiguous things and things that people actually like. They have to really pay attention to really understand what's going on. That type of thing. And I just think it makes it more rewarding as the watcher, or as the reader or viewer, or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
whatever you want to refer to as. And so Sky Outlaw, she was based off of a lot of the popular girls that, like, if you ever seen the show Mean Girls, if you ever seen the movie Mean Girls,
Yeah.
my God, great movie.
I heard about that.
October 3rd was yesterday. That's a Mean Girls reference. It's October 30th. He asked me what day it was. And so basically, Sky was your typical mean girl.
Right.
On the surface. But when you really look at who she is as a human being, you understand why she is that way. And it was because I put my abuse story on her.
Yeah.
And the reason why I did that instead of Brian is because nobody would have believed me if I put that on a male character.
An outlaw. Right.
Like it just wouldn't fit. But Sky's was physically abusive and emotionally. Actually, I'm writing a book that details the seasons of RCW. So like there's video content, and then there's book content that explains the backstory of the Outlaws, how they got to RCW, how they, you know, and it's basically like after telling, like, Brian Outlaw's telling the story, and he's basically saying like this is my family and this is what we did. That type of thing. And so I play as obviously Brian because I do the promos and I do, you know, everything. So it's written in his view. And there is one chapter in the book that where Sky comes home with a black eye.
Ooh.
She comes home with a black eye. She's got a shiner, and she starts crying. And he says he hit me, and the chapter ends. And then it's her going through the trial. You know, her boyfriend being sentenced to domestic battery for 5 years, which, by the way, 5 years is the actual sentence for what a domestic charge could be.
Right.
Which is definitely not enough. But then she goes through counseling and therapy, and so that mirror represents her being so egotistical about her appearance. And the only reason why is because her boyfriend made her feel that way.
That mirror. Yes.
Yeah.
So which leads us to the let's talk about the charity.
Yeah.
So you're doing right now, this is being broadcasted on Glimish also.
Yeah.
You're doing a charity stream right now about domestic violence to try to bring awareness and raise money. Let's talk about that charity.
So I found this charity just randomly. I was looking through things and I was trying to figure out, because I've been doing this since last year. So I've been doing it for a year, and I don't really count the year. We raised about almost $100, which is awesome. That was great.
That's good.
But I considered it a trial run. You know, because I wasn't familiar with Tiltify and how to do charity streams in the way that I wanted them to. So for this, I really wanted to do something that was focused on teens specifically. And they focus on a starting point is this organization that focuses on teen dating violence and domestic violence and human trafficking. Because at 16 years old, you're more likely to go through an abusive relationship in your teenage years than you are at any other age. And it's simply because you're naive and you know, and abusers will take advantage of that. They take advantage of people that are naive. They take advantage of people. They will manipulate you and get you to believe things that are completely ludicrous. So for that, purpose of the charity.
For a way of like control.
Yeah, basically. For a way of control, yeah. And that's really what it is. And so for that, I really wanted to focus on just teen dating violence and helping that. Not only with sharing my story through Sky Outlaw and Sky is just a beautifully written character. She really is. And I am not saying that just because I was the one that created her. But, you know, I feel like she's a beautifully written character. I love doing the text messages and the tweets and stuff through this app.
Yeah, you guys should go check that out.
I love doing that stuff. There's this app that I use. You can't get it on the Apple Store anymore, but it's called Social Dummy, and it allows you to make, like, fake Twitter, fake text messages. It looks legit, though. It looks really almost like an actual thing. And I'll have, you know, conversations with Sky Outlaw and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
And, like, I'll play in character. I'll think about how Sky would say something or whatever. And it's so great because, like, it's how I've created her. And so, like, you know, I have a lot of fun doing Luna Outlaw. I have a lot of fun doing this stuff for Luna Outlaw because she's very philosophical and very very Shakespearean-esque.
Yes.
So I love doing all of that, you know. But Sky Outlaw, she really inspired this charity, and she really inspired the whole entire character itself. Inspired the whole thing because, you know, Sky, she goes through this metamorphosis of self-identity. Like, she starts trying to find herself again because after her abusive relationship at 16, same age as me, she decides to become a wrestler to defend herself. And she starts to find her own self-identity. So the mirror went away. I can't remember what season it was. And then one of our friends, Young Sin, thought it would be a good idea to bring it back. And I was like, why? And he goes, no. He goes, it's a gift. And I was like, okay. I was like, then we can have the mirror represent something else. So it's the mirror
that's a good idea.
That he gives her is like, sort of like, see the beauty in you that I do. Look at yourself in the mirror. And that was one of the things that, actually, it was one of the things that I told Lynn from Paris, because she's like, who's gorgeous? Who's this person that you're referring to? And I said, why don't you take a look in the mirror? And like a month later, I kid you not, a month later, I see her do a Playboy photo shoot.
Ooh.
And yeah.
She's had a mirror.
And she had a mirror, and she was looking at herself in the mirror smiling. So
nice.
I consider that not to be a coincidence. But,
what a coincidence. So in closing, I think we reached an hour over here.
Yeah.
Hour, a little after. So in closing, how are you doing now? How was you're much older. You basically, you know, you understand at the time what you went through.
I understand now more than anything. Yeah.
And now what you've done to kind of overcome all those feelings and emotions and everything like that.
True.
Through the creation of your characters of Outlaw, through wrestling, through streaming, through talking with Paige and the lead singer to the band Paris.
Yeah.
Paris. So all that has helped you. What do you have to say for people who are going through like teenage domestic violence or some of the similar things that you went through? What is your message?
Well,
what do you want?
Well, I can say, and as a male, for any male victim out there, I want to get this as a disclaimer because, you know, male victims get a lot of scrutiny for this. So for any male victim out there, like, don't be ashamed of it. Like, don't be ashamed. Tell somebody because there's going to be somebody that's going to believe you. And trust me, you're not a wimp, you're not a pussy for being in that. You're not. You're not a sissy either.
Right.
Because this whole entire myth that women can overpower men, or that women can't overpower men, that women can't degrade men, it's a myth. It's a myth, and for female victims as well, I feel for you. Don't let any man or any person, whatever gender you identify as, don't let any person tell you that you're worthless, because that's how they control you.
Right.
They get you to believe that you are, and then they destroy you as a human being, who you are as a human being, and that's not right. And and I know it's easier said than done. I'm not gonna just be one of those people that says just leave, because that's possible.
Hard.
That's just
I
not
know a few people.
That's not possible. But just tell someone that you trust. The start is there. A starting point, like the charity is. It's a starting point to a new life, to a new and better life.
Right.
And you can get through it. I did. It might take you a little bit. And also, for those of you that are afraid about getting in a relationship afterwards, afraid about starting your life afterwards, like, let the person that that you're talking to, that you're interested in, about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they might be able to help you, and honestly, it might be something that brings you closer together. Your demons, your obstacles might be something that brings you closer together.
Also, you got to make sure that this is the right person that you want to divulge this.
You got to make sure
information
that
you want to open up to.
Yeah,
that
you
you trust this person. Yeah. So, all right. So where can they find you? I think I put the links up. Yep. I put your Glimish link up in chat. Also the link to the charity.
Yep.
Tiltify.com/botstv.
Yep.
The name of the charity is I have it right here. Worth More.
Yep.
Worth More charity. You can donate whatever you can to that. Now the proceeds don't go directly to bots; they go directly to the organization.
Yep, that's why I set it up that
way. Just bringing awareness to it.
Yep.
So
that and was... also for that, and also real quick, as part of the charity stream, something that I want to give back to you guys. Obviously, we're working on giving back to the charity gear, but this is something that we did last year as well. We're gonna do this throughout to the end of the month, so about Halloweenish, and by the time that comes around, the person that donates the most, even if we don't reach the $1,000 goal, that's okay too. The person that donates the most will get free merch from my merch store as well.
Hey.
So you get a free piece of merch. All you have to do that is obviously, like let's say for example, Sackitey decides one day to donate $20, then he donates $20 on another day. That's $40 to his name. If nobody beats that threshold, he earns the free merch, and he gets to select either a hoodie or any type of free merch. And how you do that is you just go to my Discord or reach me there, and I'll be able to get the information that I need. Tell me what you want. Tell me what size, all that good stuff, and I'll send that right out to you. And that'll be just a thank you for somebody who's going above and beyond. But thank you to all those who will donate, and thank you to all those who are just being here and raising awareness of something, even if you are unable to donate to the cause. That's just as good. Raising awareness and being here is just as good as donating money to the cause.
All right. Well, that was really good, guys. Make sure you donate to the cause. Follow Bots TV on Glimish. My name is Sackitey. What we're gonna do right now, I feel like playing that game that we was talking about earlier.
The ninja one?
Yeah.
All right.
So that part is over. We're gonna take a little break. I'll be right back and get set up, and then we can move on to the gaming. Yeah.
Yep.
That should be fun.